Hi all, my name's Laurel. I obviously work with Hype because you're here and listening. So today, or this week, I've actually been thinking a lot of the Super Bowl and how typically at this time I am getting ready to pack my bags to head down to or over to wherever the Super Bowl is. And this year, of course, it is in Tampa, and I would be going there. However, we're living in the world of COVID where all of our events or most of our events aren't really happening. I will say Hype has been activating, which is kind of exciting or super exciting, if you will. So that is a plus. But when it comes to Super Bowl, the whole idea of today is reflecting on our past Super Bowl visits. And for me, this year would have been my sixth year, I think, going to the Super Bowl, which is crazy to think about. I've been with Hype for over 5 years now, so it's just wild. But I wanted to get to what we typically do at Super Bowl. For those that don't know, for those have never worked it, who have always wanted to work it, any family out there that always asks me, what do you do when you go to the Super Bowl? I still get that question being in my job 5 years later. So typically the reason I go maybe like 2 weeks before the event, so I would be flying out this week, which is about 2 weeks before Super Bowl. And the reason why that is because the week or 7 to 9 days leading up to the Super Bowl is actually one of the biggest marketing frenzies you can be a part of, I suppose. And for those who have experienced, obviously know what I'm talking about. But for those who haven't, there is Super Bowl Live and Super Bowl Experience, which I'm sure maybe you've heard on the news or heard on Twitter or saw on Facebook, something like that. But it is a 7 to 9 day extravaganza where all these brands come, they set up these experiences for fans and attendees to enjoy, and it's all free. For the most part, or at least Super Bowl Live is typically free. It's open to the public. Super Bowl Experience is a paid ticketed event, but definitely well worth it. So the week before Super Bowl, all these brands come, brands such as Verizon, Best Buy, Doritos, Target, Tito's Vodka. There's a lot of local vendors there too, food trucks, small artists, things like that, all set up for guests and consumers to enjoy. And what I usually am a part of, or the past 5 years I've been a part of, is Verizon. So with the Hype Agency, we are a staffing partner of Momentum Worldwide, marketing agency, who works with Verizon. In the past 5 years, we've always had a team that represents Verizon. So we hire brand ambassadors, an ambassador to the brand, if you will. Verizon being the brand, of course, and then our staff being the ambassadors. And Verizon sets up an amazing experience for guests to enjoy, whether it's a virtual reality experience, whether it's a photo opportunity, whatever the case may be. They put it on. My team is there to show you through the experience, to help elevate the experience, basically to create that experience for you that when you walk out those doors, you're like, that was kind of neat. This is what I come here for. Now, that is taking place the week before Super Bowl. My team, what it typically consists of, I provide a team of staff, like I said, to represent that brand. And that has changed through the years. I was kind of looking back before this video of like how our teams have varied in sizes. And we've had teams of 19, which is small, to teams of 50. And we staff all of them. Half of them, or some of them, usually are traveling out to the event for work, and then others provide their own travel and they get there because it's going to be such a good time. It's enough hours for staff. They enjoy working it. It's worth their while to travel and pay their way. But for our team, we usually have, and now mind you, let's back up. The Super Bowl, of course, is a football event. So throughout the year, football season, from regular season, not preseason, starting in August or September all the way through now, because of course we're in the playoff time, we typically have teams in stadiums all across the country, from the New England Patriots to the Baltimore Ravens to the Houston Texans to the New York Giants, still don't know that one, to the Atlanta Falcons, to San Francisco 49ers, and all of that. And mind you, I probably know more about football because of my job than personal interest, but that's a different story. And we have staff that work the Super Bowl games, all the home games throughout the entire year. So that's a 8-month, I think it's an 8-month job, but it's spread out. So you only work, maybe there's 8 to 10 home games, and they work once or twice a month. However, it's leading up to the Super Bowl. So we have a team of veteran staff who we travel out each year to wherever the Super Bowl is. They get hotels and things like that, and they are set to work for the 9 to 10 to, I think it's 12 days of activations, which I will later get into what that consists of. But anyways, these staff put in hours and put in years. I think a lot of the staff, like I said, I have 5 years experience going. A lot of the staff I work with have worked this for 10, 12 years, have been working the Super Bowl before I even knew what the experiential marketing industry consisted of. So these staff have put in know much more than I do, mind you. And we also have a local team. So what we call our local team is people that travel out to the market wherever the Super Bowl is and are willing to work, or they're local to the market. So say, for instance, last year we were in Miami. We had our travel team that came from New England, from New York, from Texas, all travel in. But our Miami team, of course, they're locals. They were also part of the team. And we also looked at additional other Miami brand ambassadors, folks that travel down from Northern Florida, from Georgia, and things like that. And our teams have consisted of, like I said, 19 to 23 to 48 to 50 staff that we interview, we check in with, we gather sizes, all of that fun stuff. We go through training. So now what actual Super Bowl, or like the 10 days before Super Bowl, consists of, of our team, whatever size it may be, we have a 2 full days of training, and then the 9 to 10 days of activation. So what training typically consists of is a 6 to 8 hour day in the classroom. We all come in, notebooks, pen and paper, name tags. We sit down and go over what the Super Bowl or what Verizon has for us this year. So whether that's new product information, messaging, what our team, how we should be carrying ourselves, what the image of Verizon is, and what we're supposed to be doing. We go over role playing. We go through role playing. We have the giant whiteboard markers, and we do drawing and brainstorming and all of that fun stuff. And we get to know each other. Of course, we're going to be spending the next, whatever I keep saying, 8 to 10 days, 12 days together in, mind you, not a tiny footprint, but smaller than, I don't know, a stadium, if you will. So we're going to be spending a lot of time together over the next week and a half. So it's very important to build that team bonding. Team bonding is huge. And now the second day of training is typically either a small portion of the morning in a classroom to just refresh what we learned the day before, or we typically get to go on site to see the footprint. Prior to that, but the marketing team and Verizon are usually, or the brand, are usually on site building this giant footprint. And for those who have seen it, or those who are familiar with the industry, of course, you know, there's a lot that goes into event production. So when we come in, the final touches are being put on, windows are being cleaned, floors are being cleaned, maybe adjusting some things that didn't work out according to the sketches or plans. So we get to go on site just to see where we're going to spend the next week and a half. See where our stations are going to be. Okay, so you're going to be at the photo op. Okay, you're going to be on line management. Okay, you're going to be on greeting, and how that's actually going to work out. So super important to get familiar with what the footprint entails and where you're going to be spending 10 to 12 hours of your day for the next week and a half. Now, event days. Those, I think I live. Super Bowl has always been my favorite. It's what we, in the events world, breathe. It's our bread and butter. It's like what we live for. It's to be on site at events from start to finish. And yes, it's hectic. It's a lot when you're in it, these 12 to 14 hour days. But when you're not doing that, you're sitting at your desk or you're in meetings and, of course, planning for up to this point. So it's my favorite event of the year, typically. So what event days consist of? Mornings, of course, you get up, you have your breakfast, you get ready for the day because you know you're not coming back to that hotel room until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever at night. I typically have been driving our staff. So our travel team, the team that has traveled down, We usually have a 12 to 15 passenger bus that I load up my team, and then we get ready to head to the footprint. And of course there I do roll call, typical of any other event, or if you've never had an on-site manager that checks in, it's just roll call on site. So do that, and then we go over roles for the day, positions, refreshing of some key messaging and things like that, and then everybody gets in place. Of course, people get their recaps and their clickers to count numbers and metrics for the day, and they disperse. And then typically what I do, of course, once staff are in their place, client service, but I also I kind of do my rounds to make sure everybody's in place, to take photos, of course. If you check out our social media, we love whenever we can be on site, or whenever we get photos from you. If you're our staff and you're listening, we love to see what's happening on site. We don't always get to be on site. We don't always get to see what's happening. We see the training manuals and we see some photos, but besides that, we don't know what's happening behind you. So those selfies that you send us when you check in are greatly appreciated. And if there's ever any event photos of like the footprint or staff interaction, those are always amazing to see. And let's see. So after I do some photos, typically go back to the footprint, because sometimes we're dispersed. So a lot of the times we'll have different footprints that are outside of our main footprint, right? So I think, for instance, in Atlanta, we had Bubble Buddies, these little golf carts that are placed around. Some are outside of Super Bowl Live, some are not necessarily a half mile away, but usually they're dispersed around the experience, so consumers kind of get a little visual of our brand in every part of their experience throughout the whole Super Bowl Live, not just at our footprint. So besides that, I kind of head out, let the team do what they need to do. I check out some other activations because it is pretty neat to see what else is going on. Maybe sit down to do some work, check in, prep for tomorrow to see if any positions change, update the roster for roll calls and things like that. And then of course I make my way back to the event, check in, how are the clients doing, how are the staff doing, see if anybody needs their water, sunscreen, depending on where we are. I know last year in Miami, that was important. And that's pretty much it. But however, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're on site and you're kind of jumping around, and when little fire drills pop up, your time gets taken, or maybe, I can do this, maybe I can do that. And like I said, it's something that we live for. So that's that. Now reflection. I mean, like I said, I've been thinking about a lot. We all have time on our hands for the most part, right? So I looked back in my photos or my Instagram roll, because I think everybody does that, but I don't know. And I was looking back at all the previous years when I was getting ready to go to Super Bowl, and I was a lot more active on social media. But let's see, my first year back in 2016, my first year at Hype, I had 6 months under my belt. I went out to San Francisco for Super Bowl 50, and that was amazing. San Francisco alone was one of my favorite cities. So that was very interesting to see and be a part of, with being one of the first large events I had ever been on site for. I had just graduated my master's, and this is my first big girl job. And here I am in San Francisco with a team of, I think, 35 that year. And I had my other colleagues on site as well, and that was neat. 2017 was Super Bowl 51, yeah, obviously. Super Bowl 51 was in Houston. That was a really fun year. I do remember at the time thinking there wasn't good food, but it's just because I didn't do enough research and wasn't aware of the Houston community. But I did have a really good time there. That was probably one of my favorite or most fun Super Bowls personally. We had a team of 19, which was small, but it was a good crew. 2018 was Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis in the winter. Mind you, this is February, very cold. We knew going into it that was going to be one of the coldest years, of course, being in Minneapolis. And I think prior to that, they didn't really have cold markets besides New York or when it was in Jersey. And I think after that, they also said they would never do it again in a cold climate, because it was just, we were limited between Super Bowl Live, how you can see how it changes each year when you travel out to it, which is another favorite part of mine, is when you see not the same experience, but the same idea recreated in different cities. You can kind of see what stays the same, how the cities and the committee changes or adapts to the new environment they're in. And that was super interesting being in Minneapolis. That, I know you're not probably supposed to have favorites, but that was my favorite team. So for anybody listening that's on the Minneapolis Super Bowl 53 hype team, I love you. I appreciate you. That was a rock star team. They were outside for hours on end. Snow. We had a snowstorm, I'm pretty sure. And they killed it. They rocked it. We wore 3 pairs of socks, leggings, and then jeans, layers upon layers. We had hand warmers, and I stated from the get-go, we're all going to be cold, so if we complain, or let's at least limit the complaining. I think I was the only one that complained, so I apologize. But that team killed it. I know the clients were happy that year, and that was just amazing to see. So very cool year. That was a team of 23, middle-sized roster. And then 2019 was Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta. That was also another amazing team. That was super cool to see. That was a wild year. That's Atlanta for you. They know how to put down or get down. I don't know. They can host. That was a team of 48, which is our largest team, I think, at the time. 48 staff, which was wild, but that was also another really, really good team. The music there, the food there, that was probably another top runner of like my favorite year experiences of Super Bowl. And then Super Bowl 54, right? Yeah, 54 last year in Miami, because we're on Super Bowl 55 this year. Miami, it was warm. That's what I appreciated there. We had a good team. There was a lot of changes. I think that was the first that 5G was out. Now I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with 5G, but it was warm. It was Miami. I didn't really get to experience Miami as Miami, but that's okay. We were excited to come back the next year, being this year in Tampa, but of course, unfortunately, we are not. But that was a fun one. So now to answer some questions, bringing it to Tampa this year, I know I've had a lot of staff reach out saying, are there events? Are you staffing? Would love to be a part of it, which thank you. We appreciate that, of course. Any staff that wants to come back and work with us, obviously we take that as a giant compliment. As far as we know, there's not a lot or any large events happening at the Super Bowl, at least with staff. So at this time, no, we're not staffing anything, but that's not to say that something won't pop up. Typically right now I am gathering sizes of my roster, and we have flights confirmed and hotels confirmed, but right now we're taking the time to reflect and look back and try to make sure that we're ready to go for when more events pop up and when the larger events pop up, and making sure all of our safety protocols and your safety is top of mind. So I really enjoyed thinking about my past experiences of the Super Bowl. Like I said, they're some of my favorite events of what I do. Favorite part of my job is traveling and getting to be on site. So I ask you, whether you're a brand ambassador, whether you're a client of ours, whether you are just a follower, a family, a friend of one of us that work here, do you have any questions about Super Bowl? Or what is your favorite memory of working a Super Bowl? Or what was your first Super Bowl? I've heard stories of like Super Bowl 42, I think, or something to that effect. Let us know. I'd love to hear. I love hearing stories of how long people have been working Super Bowls, or what their favorite memory is, or maybe worst memory. It's okay. Things definitely happen in the field, but let us know. And I hope this was at least somewhat enjoyable to reflect on instead of focusing on what's not happening this year. It's always nice to look back and see what we have done and how far we've come. So thanks.